share is about 6 to 8% of our incoming students here are homeschoolers. It's there. A large number of them can move to enrollment or opportunities. We'll talk a little bit, answer questions about curriculum, things like that, and the opportunities there. Over 70 different academic majors that students go into is homeschool students on campus as well. So, and then one last note, we have absolutely no online learning. Zero. We were 100% open during the pandemic. So we were on campus in person, believing that the educational opportunities for the students.
Okay, awesome. Good afternoon. Nice to see everyone. Apologize for my voice in advance. I just lost it a few days ago. But my name's Kate. I'm here representing USF. I work over Go Bulls, thank you. I work over on the St. Pete campus. That's what kind of makes USF unique is we actually have 3 campuses, and along with those, we have 3 campus sizes, and there's just different campus community on each one. So we have our main campus over in Tampa. I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with that. And they have about 40,000 students over there. Then we have our St. Petersburg campus located downtown St. Pete as well on Bayboro Harbor. So they're a waterfront campus as well. We have about 5,000 students over there with us. And then Sarasota Manatee campus has about 1,000 students. Currently, they are a commuter campus. However, within the next year, I believe 2024 sometime, we are going to be opening up a new residence hall over in Sarasota. So really, USF kind of has anything for any type of student because since we have 3 different campuses, for example, my experience, I actually am an alumni on the St. Pete campus. Found Tampa just to be a little bit too large for me. I just felt that St. Pete was a better fit. But there's some students that want to get involved in Greek life or student athletics and find that Tampa would be a better fit for them. So it just kind of depends on what is right for each student. Yeah.
Hey, so my name is Marty Murphy. I'm the department head for virtual reality development at Ringling College of Art and Design. I'm not an admissions person, but I think in contrast, we only have 1,700 students. The average class size is 11 to 1. And I've had 2 classes right now where we only have 7 students versus 5. I'm not saying Ringling's cheap, but the amount of individual one-on-one attention is extremely high. The other reason I think it's a good time to meet you all, I'm the father of 5 kids and my high daughter. My 5 biological kids were all homeschooled, and all of them have had different success in college. So if you have questions about that process, I'll gladly talk about it. But Ringling's really unique. We don't require an SAT. We don't require an ACT. What we look for is portfolio. And Ringling is very high tech. You think art school, you think ceramics and drawing or painting, but it's not true. On average, our students have 2.2 computers. Very high-end technology. And the employers that come to us and recruit from us are myriad and a huge variety. A lot of emphasis on architectural visualization, medical visualization. We have folks who will go into manufacturing, as well as all the entertainment sectors. So it's both enterprise and entertainment.
We want to open it up to y'all for your questions and a little bit of what you want to know. You have 3 very unique different schools and our opportunities, sizes, experiences that's there. We wanted to be able to answer y'all's questions as well. As family members or students that you're looking through the process that's there, maybe you kind of start, where can students apply to our schools? You want to start off with that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So we are on Common App. We also have our USF applications, which is usf.edu/application. It's pretty simple. It takes about 30 minutes to an hour to complete. There's no essay requirement. We're only going to be looking at students' GPA and test scores. So the process looks like we have the step 1, submit your application. Step 2, submit your application fee. We also do have application fee waivers if that is something that you would all be seeking for. Could look something like an SAT waiver, ACT waiver, things like that. We'll definitely be able to work with you all on getting back. Step 3 would be submitting your STAR. It's a self-reported academic record. That's new this year. It's worked out very, very well for us. That takes place of a partial high school transcript. So students will be completing the SAR. It's pretty much just going to be plugging in all of the high school coursework or high school credits, anything like that that you have in, and submitting that way. Then at the end of the year, we require a final high school transcript. I know it looks a little different for homeschool students. How that looks is we have a homeschool transcript form that typically like a parent or administrator would fill out for the student, have an administrator sign it. I know a lot of times administrator is just a parent, and have the parent or administrator send it over to USF. So that's what we're looking for in place of like a final high school transcript. And then the last step would be submitting test scores. So like I said, SAT or ACT test scores. You only have to send one. We're not looking for both. We're just requiring one. You're welcome to send both if you prefer to do so. And we do super score. So we always encourage students to take the SAT or ACT around 3 times is where we find the most success. And we're going to put all those together and give you your super score. So that's all we're going to be looking at is GPA and test scores.
I really appreciate that insight. Ringway's pretty close to you all. We use Common App, but instead of those tests at the end, that's where we look for the portfolio. Right? And I can't imagine you helping out with the test, but for us on the portfolio side, whether it's an open house or if you take my business card and you share your portfolio with me, or you come take a teen studio class with me, or come to some pre-college open summer with me, you'll have plenty of opportunities to interact with our teachers and to find out what are they looking for in a portfolio, what can I do, small steps to improve your work, to get you to continue to be motivated and interested in a career in art and design. Common App, all that. No, the only thing I got called on, like my son was a man, and he used Common App and he used a draft copy. Have you ever seen that? He thought he did everything right, pushed the button, like I submitted. Man, it's not, I asked him, it's not coming through. And it turned out like he had used a draft version. I don't know if they fixed it, but I bring up this horror story just to encourage you to be like, don't be bashful with asking follow-up questions with the admissions office. They deal with it all day long. There's no negative impression that could affect your student. I really admire some of the schools like Georgia Tech. They moved to a model where they have an AI bot, and you could just ask them the same dumb question over and over again. It never gets upset. But I just want you to make sure that you feel that same way with the admission counselors or whoever's involved with your process of getting submitted. We know it can be stressful, so don't lose faith. Just keep on asking.
For Florida Southern College, one of the things I'll share is it's going to depend on major sometimes for the student on how they apply to Florida Southern, and then also the process that they'll go through. So Florida Southern College is free to apply to first and foremost. We do not charge an application fee. I like to say sometimes for families and students, you're welcome on that, and they also were a good place to start. If you're not kind of sure of how to go through the process, the next steps. And we also are in multiple platforms for students and families to apply to. We are on the Common Application. Many schools across the country are. We're also there, so you can check the box, submit any of your materials, items, things like that through the Common Application. We are also a coalition school. Depending upon your homeschool curriculum you may be using, that homeschool curriculum may be partnered with SCORE. Some of you may be familiar with that, heard of that. If you're using a homeschool curriculum that goes along with SCORE, they connect directly into the coalition application. Some of the things through the SCORE network also pre-fill out a lot of that application for you, making that simpler. We also have a simplified internal institutional application, and that's really a couple of quick pages for students to share some information. And I'll also share Florida Southern College's extraordinarily holistic in the review process. So we are going to be looking at your GPA based on the curriculum that you're taking, the types of courses you're taking in that homeschool curriculum. And we know there's a variety of different curriculums that are at your disposal. As homeschool parents and family members is there. This could be online schooling. You may be doing kind of a pick and choose, I like to say, the menu board for virtual school in combination of other things that you may be using. If you're using multiple methods of teaching and learning in the homeschool curriculum, just make sure that you're sharing all of those with us. So if it's homeschool curriculum plus a Florida virtual school, plus a Liberty High School online, something like that, make sure that you're adding those multifaceted transcripts.
What if I, as a parent, design the curriculum myself?
If you are designing the curriculum yourself, what we're going to need is a homeschool requisite. What that is essentially it gives the description of what you're teaching. Think of it as a syllabus. Is what you're going to need for each one of the courses you're teaching, and you kind of created yourself in the homeschool curriculum. The other thing that we'll require for students, depending upon major, some of our majors do require an SAT or ACT. Examples of this: a student is interested in nursing or a direct admit program. So students start day one, year one in our School of Nursing. This is not where you're taking prerequisite courses in your first 2 years. This is, we're going to get you into nursing classes right away. We want to know that you have the capabilities in biology, chemistry, anatomy, and physiology, and you're going to do well and be successful in those areas that's there. So we look at the science classes those students taking, and we want to see those SAT or ACT test scores. Engineering is another location that we do that within. If you're interested in engineering as a student, as a family, you want to make sure that you're good at math. That's there. So if you don't like math, you're not good at math, engineering may not be the best path for you as an individual. There's so much that goes into that. If you're fearful of calculus, also engineering may not be the path for you if you're not into calculus. We require students to have taken up to pre-calculus in any curriculum, whether it be public school, private school, homeschool, and be ready to go into those hard math classes, the Calc 1, the Calc 2, differential equations, those types of things, when they would come into an engineering curriculum. The other things I like to share, many of our homeschool students are interested in the arts, are interested in theater, performance, those types of things. And in addition to the application itself, a student can apply test optional for many of those programs. We want to look at students individually outside of those nursing and science and engineering kind of majors that I mentioned. We want to know the student that they're going to be a good fit for the culture of our campus. And that is through honors, awards, activities, involvement, and an essay. This year, I have read 11,467 essays now from students. This ranges from a homeschool student talking about the process of raising a chicken coop, and now actually making $40,000 a year for selling eggs, having gone to Publix lately. Y'all know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. But that's the personality of that student. I've had students talk about being a social media influencer and specifically doing their influence campaigns on doing really what would be grooming for animals. Started with dogs. She was passionate because she saw a dog that was behind a chain link fence that was just mangled, hair overgrown, and things like that, and how to raise money through social media for that. That shows the heart of the student, that shows the passion of the student, that's the voice of the student, and that's what we want to see through the college essay. That's there, that's going to match who we are on our campus. We don't have any religious requirements on our campus for students, but we have an honor code on our campus that actually has values in it that are about being kind, being welcoming, and the knowledge and the values and experiences of others coming together. And does it match our values for where the student is coming from? I hope that gives a little bit of a background overall. So it kind of depends. I'll also share in the visual performing arts, going back to that for a moment. A portfolio or an audition is going to be required for those. So if you're interested in music and you think you're a phenomenal trumpet player, just as an example, we want you to audition as a music major with your trumpet audition that's there. And your admission to Florida Southern is going to be dependent upon your audition and also what's on that application that's there combined. This is when I talk about a holistic review. It's based on your interest, you individually as a student, and also what you're going to bring to our campuses. We're selective, but I will also say we're not hyper competitive. There are decisions that have come out now in the last week from schools where they're bragging about 3% acceptance rates and 11% acceptance from those things. We're just about 60% of students get admitted to Florida Southern, and of our homeschool students fall in that kind of same line. We believe that GPA is the best predictor of how students are going to do in the college environment. No matter what type of curriculum that they're taking. That's there. If you've achieved academically, and we can see that, you're going to be successful on our campus. Yeah.
So going back to what you said about that music thing, how would that work for sports?
That's a great question. So, and I'll even kind of throw softball out there for myself, pun intended. That's on that. I'll be doing a session here this afternoon at 5:30 to talk a little bit about college recruitment and college athletics and how that plays a role into this. So it's going to depend upon what level the student is potentially going to be playing at. So for us, and I'll even throw a little bit for USF, we're a Division II school. We also have some Division I programs at Florida Southern. USF is Division I. Admissions professionals do not recruit student athletes on our campuses. That's all coaches that do all of that recruitment process. And if they have a student that's being recruited, they still have to follow the same admissions process and requirements and all the same things. Let me tell you a story from this year. I like to tell stories. We had a student who applied. This would have been in September. They were committed as a women's lacrosse recruit. Plug for our women's lacrosse team. They just beat the #1 team in the country on Friday night. We're currently ranked #4. Rankings will come out on Tuesday. We're very excited about that. So we are the first women's lacrosse program south of the Mason-Dixon line in the national championship. With the women's lacrosse program, they're recruiting a year in advance. So 2024 students for next year, they're already committed at this point in time. So a year ago, the student that would apply in September had already been recruited, was ready to go, wanted to come. That student gets to September and fills out their application for admission. Everything looks good, we get to an essay. An essay is an opportunity for us to get to know you. The essay states this: I'm a women's lacrosse recruit, period. That didn't look good to the admissions committee. That student is still on a wait list at this point in time for admission. All they had to do was write a 250 to 500 word essay about something that interested them, not a one-sentence, non-effort essay. That's what that shows us. That doesn't show us effort. That doesn't show us commitment. That shows us a one singular line of interest and your only reason that you're really looking to go through this process.
So
You are
Wait, what do you think of that?
we don't have sports. We have like a Quidditch team.
I mean about the boldness, the boldness of a one-sentence line. That's an interesting case.
So but I will say, my previous gig, I was a worldwide art director for Midway Games at one kind of I made a bunch of sports games. And one of the things that I've noticed hiring animators and training animators is having some sort of sense of their own body and their own limitations. It adds to the quality of the performance and believability, the physics of it, the strength of it. I think that's really impactful. We had some sports students come into the school. They had something going on when they transferred in. But there was one point where I had like an elite video game player and an elite paintball player. And so with his sports background and all that background, very competitive. He did great, and he's an animator at Epic Games. So if you put the Fortnite, you've probably seen his animations. I'm sure he's doing silly dances. But I wanted to mention, you were talking about that holistic view, and I really like how you folks have so much more nuance than I can offer. But my kids did dual enrollment. We're horrible at taking tests. But I love the matriculation agreement with the schools my kids attended at State College of Florida. For my two sons who did go to they just washed the deck of their liberal arts classes. They came in and just kind of pushed them all out. And then my daughter, she went to USF Go Bulls, and she went in as a junior. And so, from an efficiency standpoint, I think that type of planning that we had, like my kids are bad at testing, well, dual enrollment gets them the credits they need, and the proof of academic record, there's no other predictor of future success than the past. But for me in PR, there's so many beautiful ways to express your intelligence, and knowing how to do that. I've been impressed with just a YouTube channel from an applicant who talks about their passion for what they're doing, and it's demonstrated on display. It's in APR classes, they talk about sustained investigation. And so as much as it's having a signature voice to the artwork, a signature voice to the essay, I think for me, from an academic standpoint, I want somebody have to give up, just like fill something out. Do one essay and throw it away. Like I want them to see them incorporating that thinking, their own view into the world and build on it. Yeah.
Sometime after the U.S. Civil War, I went to community college first, and then I went to a university, to get 2 more years to get my 4-year degree.
How'd that work out?
It worked out very well, actually.
Okay.
I'm wondering what you guys think of that as a route into your school.
Yeah, I would go with this. So that's a great route, in my opinion. I definitely, even whenever I'm talking to beginning to middle high schools, I always like to mention the transfer process. Just because for a lot of students, that's unfortunately, USF does not take a holistic approach. We just look at GPA and test scores. So some students don't get to show off their passion for music or anything like that. So they might not meet our requirements right away. However, let's say they go to HSC for 2 years, earn their AA degree, then they can come into USF, and all we're looking for is that college GPA. We're only going to be looking for, in general, a 2.0 GPA, which is much lower, whereas I think the average admitted student as a freshman is a 4.0. So it's a huge difference. The only thing that I want to mention, if the transfer process is for you, take a look at prerequisites. So for example, our College of Business has prerequisite requirements for transfer students. So there are 7 prerequisites that students must complete before entering USF. So they would have to complete all 7 of these to see or better at PHSC, HCC, whatever it may be, and also meet the GPA requirements and so on. And then for lower level, there's also tiers to it. So for example, lower level transfer students, that's anyone between 12 and 29 credit hours after their high school graduation date. Mid-level is 30 to 59. Those are gonna have different requirements. So for example, a mid-level transfer student, out of those 7, they might only have to complete 4 of the 7 prerequisite requirements. But that is gonna be the biggest thing that we're looking for, is that they completed those prerequisites. Similar to as you were saying, if they're going into the College of Engineering and we see that they've never taken a calculus class at a college level, they're probably not going to have much success at USF taking those upper level courses in calculus. So we're really looking for success at PHSC or HCC in those prerequisites.
I'll add to that, in that oftentimes you think of the state college or community college, HCC is the direct link into the state university system. There are 12 private universities here in Florida, including Florida Southern, that are part of the same state articulation system. If you earn your AA degree, all of your gen ed requirements are completed. At that point in time, you're going to write in your major. All the credits are going to count course for course. I like to give the example of you take E and C 1101 and 1102, which is English Composition 1 and 2 in PHSC. That's E and G 1101 and 1102 for us. So very similar coding, counts the same. All those credits are going to come in, so you're going to get the value of that. On average, each year we have about 200 students. That's really somewhere around 10% of our incoming student class each year at Fort Southern are transfer students. That's there. The trend that we're seeing for us at the undergraduate level for our bachelor's degree seeking first-year students, notice I didn't say freshmen. We're very careful to say that. We have now between 7 and 10% of our incoming students each year coming with their AA degrees. If you're a homeschool student earning your AA and taking advantage of that here in the state, that is a tremendous route to go through, because then it's cutting down time to your degree cost for your degree. Sometimes it's there, accelerating your opportunities. We have what's called 4+1 degrees, where you can get your bachelor's and master's in 5 years. There's a wide array of schools that's in that gymnasium today that do that as well, where essentially if you're coming with 2 year credits, if it's a 4+1 or a 3+2, well, the adjust could have cut potentially 2 years off of that, depending upon what you take in for your prerequisites and what major you go into.
So those prerequisites, that's a great note. My daughter's graduation is delayed. We missed one. We didn't quite get it all worked out. There's a sense of that efficiency. For my boys who went to Ringland and they got the AA, sure they wiped the deck with the liberal arts classes, but they started off in first year because of the prerequisites. They may be able to get out of 1 or 2 of the lower level art and design courses, but the the other experiences at the college are, you can't get it anywhere else in the world sometimes. This is a preeminent art school, some of the very best artists are training the kids there, and we're not gonna accept, art classes from pretty much any other school. So, it's a case-by-case basis, and working with the department head, they might accept it, and our friends in admissions, in the registrar's office. But that would be a case for my kids, that when they went, we talked to admissions, we talked to the registrar office and made sure there's a clear document that says, hey, this class counts for that. But I will say for my two sons, when they attended Ringling, because it didn't have as much emphasis on the liberal arts, they had a little bit more time to do freelance work or to pick up a side job related to their craft. And that's helped accelerate their careers. Other side note, for my daughter, organic chemistry, during COVID, not so much, that was really difficult. Online, first time, or historically a tough class. If you have to correct me if I'm wrong here, please. Those transfer credits, when you come into the college, where you're going, they don't count towards your new GPA. The GPA is reset. And so for my sons who did, hey, I did okay with those liberal arts classes, they go through, and then they felt a full weight of hard studio art classes. And so my daughter at USF, she felt a full weight of organic chemistry. And so there can be really, to kind of just have that in mind, but even if you don't get the A, clearing the deck a little bit, to be a full-time student at college is for 12 credits, right? And so for a biology degree, that could be like 3 lab classes or some sort of configuration. So lightening the load if your student has to work, lightening the load if they want to enjoy other activities, sports or other things. That would still be valuable to my mind. I don't know what your strategy is.
I just want to give a quick warning, there will be a couple more minutes, we can keep going, but the session will go at 4:50, so I just want to,
Sorry, go ahead with the question.
any more questions, so we can answer those before we.
There's one thing I wanted to correct, because it's just with the GPA, is that even, so that you, at USF, any like dual enrollment courses you take, any things that you take as a transfer student at HSC, does all count towards your final USF GPA.